do this, there were quite a few incidents,
Lots.
you know, of people, house catching fire, children dying from paraffin heaters. Housing. How far do we go back?
As far as you want to.
I came here in 52. So when you think about housing, when you arrive, forget the cold, because it was cold, it was the last day in December. Forget everything. And you know, and you ask yourself, is this how I'm going to live? Because as you know, when you're in Jamaica, you have the open space. If you're hot at night, you can go out on the veranda, you can sit down on your step. But when you come here, you are cold. And you're lucky, that time they didn't have the paraffin heaters, it was just the coal fire. And most homes, they all had fireplaces, and you have to buy the coal and heat the cold. You're lucky, I don't know how many people are lucky that they get a room to themselves.
Oh, you were lucky.
No, that never exists.
I had one saving grace. I was only in transit because I was already accepted to go to the general, and I was going to live on Newcastle Drive. Okay. But still, it wasn't one to myself. It was 3 in a room, and I am the only blackhead bud among all the white people them, you know, that was going to be in training. So when you come in and you sit down and the range is on, because I come from Jamaica, you have to have manners. You know, run, go and sit up before the fire. You sort of sit at the back and shiver, then somebody say, come Miss Woodhouse, come and sit down and warm yourself. And at night, oh, shiver me timbers. Especially if you don't have any heat in the room.
No, she didn't.
You get what I mean, which you didn't. You start and you rub and you rub and you till you get in, and you wonder how the sheet going to feel, and you know it's going to cold, and you shiver and you shiver. But then I was lucky for that short period. I was sharing with a very nice lady called Miss Uncle. And after that, as I said, I went to the general. But then out in the district, like at the Simons where I lived, there was Mr. Gilly. And if anybody know Mr. Gilly about my age, I'm looking for him just to share some memories. And Milado went to Canada. They had their own rooms. Miss Uncle had her room up on the top. But then in other cases, the homes were like a dropping off station for people coming from Jamaica. They would knock the door and you go out and you said, me just come from Jamaica and nobody never come to the station to meet me. So and so live here, and say, yes, you say, come in. And I personally used to be one of the first people that give them a cup of tea and a biscuit. And then the room situation, sometimes 5 men in one room. And they would come, like say Tuesday, they don't know where they are going. So they have to wait till somebody can get time off to take them first to the labor exchange, and during that time they just have little money. They have to just buy what they want. And some people remember when they came from Jamaica, they hadn't seen Kingston till they got to get the photograph taken for the passport. So they were a bit uncomfortable with the situation, so you had to help them all along the way. And some, I'm not sorry to say, because we all know that a lot of people from Jamaica couldn't read. You have to help them to read. You have to tell them where they are. Sometimes you have to take them to the bus. but the living accommodation is something else. And it got like that till maybe when more people start buying homes. Some of these people buy homes, and then the Indians and Pakistani, they came and they start to buy homes, and then they start to rent it out. But I tell you, I look at it now like, you know, when you see cowboy movies and they're going across the Rockies, and you know, we have to make do and mend. That was more than make do and mend.
I want to know, for any of you, did the dream or the stories of Britain match your reality?
Not even
No.
Not even no.
So in what way? So we've talked about housing, we've talked about the cold. Is there anything else you'd like to share regarding that dream and all the wonderful stories? The streets are paved with gold.
Gold, I think it is.
As a child in the Caribbean, I can remember my grandparents saying that when you go to England, the streets are going to be paved with gold.
Gold, yeah.
But when I got here, the reality was harsh.
Very.
Very harsh for the generations before me, and then my generation came to live with my parents. Yeah, the reality was very different.
What year was that then?
I came in 1966.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Because I lived with my grandparents and the extended families, the aunties and the uncles and the cousins. And I had the freedom of roaming Jamaica, going to school with my friends and my sisters and my cousins and my peers. I can remember as a 9-year-old, 1966, there was a lot of us on the same BOAC airplane.
Yeah.
Okay, young children. I can remember being at the airport with my aunties and my grandma waving this a handkerchief to wave me off on the plane. And got on the plane, was like put into seats by the stewardess, and they gave us food to eat. Couldn't eat the food because the way they cooked and the eggs. I can remember having egg and bacon. I remember saying to the stewardess, "Ooh, I'm not eating this. It's not cooked. It's raw." And they gave us sweets, and we had sweets. I can remember eating the sweets. And then when we got to the airport, can't remember which airport it was now. My dad came to meet me, and he took me to a little cafe and he bought us food. I think he bought me donuts and a cup of tea.
I had donuts and stuff for me dad.
And I can remember saying to my dad, "Ooh, the donut's sweet." So I thought it was
dumpling.
I thought it was fried dumpling.
Yeah, I did.
And then I can remember driving along on the train, coming to Nottingham, and looking up and seeing the smog. And I was saying to my dad, "How come it's so dark? Why is it dark outside?" It was like middle of the day. And then when we got to St. Anne's, I met one of my siblings. From living in like a ranch style home in Jamaica, it was like lived on Dame Agnes Street. It's like those terraced houses, like 3 stories. It was like being in a cave, cold. And when I saw my mum, and the mum I saw that left me in Jamaica as a young, I thought, she looked older than my grandma because of the way they dressed and she had like a scarf and the head was tied and she had like loads of layers on because of the cold. I remember a coal fire being inside the house. I thought, that's not right, because we used to have the fires outside. And then I met my siblings, they was all younger. And for years I cried because I missed my aunties and my siblings, because I had 3 younger siblings that were left in Jamaica because I was the older one, so I came first. And even talking about it now, I'm still getting a bit.
No shame.
And then we went to school up Elliot Durham. We were like the first to go to Elliot Durham school. I remember we had to walk up Woodbury Road, and it was icy. We used to walk. We had like block ice. When it snowed, it snowed, and then we had and the snow turned to ice, and we used to walk to school in block ice with just like your socks and your boots. And then sometimes, as the older one, because my mum went to work in the evening, I had to come home from school and to get the fire going sometimes and keep the fire going, because my mum and dad, they went to work. So yeah, the reality was very harsh. And for like months, this is like a 9, 10, I used to cry for my grandparents and the life I left in Jamaica. But to be fair, those memories sometimes, they made us more resilient.
Yeah, it does. Stronger. Yes.
It built resilience. And even now when I go back to Jamaica and I look at the life I left then and the life I've got now, I am so glad for the opportunities.
Yeah.
Because I took the education and I'm able to give back to my siblings that's in Jamaica, my cousins. So it was it was mixed. It was sad.
Yeah.
It was bittersweet because you miss your family, but
Yeah.
it came here and the education we got.
The government thought that we won't say anything, we let the people act, but the English people didn't. So they had to take it. Then they put out the propaganda that black women were a bit feeble-minded and black men was lazy. Read it in the archives, because I've just had it sent to me, because I was being interviewed for David Olusogun, and after the interview this man gave me this paper, and it's like had about 6 bullet points. If that man had given me that before I had the interview, I couldn't do it, because it was so demeaning of how the government thought of us. So we were living in cloud cuckoo land. Nothing's changed, and I can't say nothing isn't going to change, because I have to live in hope. And so I didn't know I hear about slavery, but it didn't concern me. I wasn't a slave, I wasn't anything. And so I was under the umbrella of an England shall be free, and when you sing it with gusto. Then this invitation came for us to come and say, help the mother country. Off went these people, and I'm thankful that they came, because when I came in 52, they had already made the foundation. But then I started to read more into what was happening, and I realized that something wasn't right. So little by little, this thing came out about the people that were on the Windrush. A lot of Jamaicans or West Indians didn't know that they were invited. I knew that. But behind the scenes, there were a lot of machinations going on. When that boat was in the Thames, waiting for these people to dock, Parliament and the Cabinet was in a quandary. They didn't know what to do with these people, and yet they invited them. How come they invited them? Was it over roast beef, whiskey, port, and Cuban cigar that the night before they had that? And then they wake up in the morning and say, whoa, it hurt me. And what did we do? So now here's the ship. What did they want to do? They wanted to send the ship to East Africa so that the people can pick peanut. And I ask you people, if that ship did turn to East Africa, history would have had a different story today.
Windrush ship. So it first brought, as we know, families over to help rebuild in post-war Britain. So they arrived on British shores between the years 1948 and 1971 from Caribbean countries. So during the Second World War, thousands of Caribbean men and women had been recruited to serve in the armed forces. So I'm aware that other reasons why people came to Britain was hearing the stories from those in the those who were recruited in the armed forces. So hearing their stories and the excitement, part of it was the excitement and the unknown, and so they decided to come over as well. So there were many, many different reasons why people came to Britain, but I can hear most of it was, you can make a living. The streets are paved with gold. This is your mother country. You'll be welcomed with open arms. But in reality, it wasn't like that.